I don't know, man. I can't think of anything that gets you more excited than undulating dudes. Except for maybe Godzilla, King of Monsters, the creature that is. You're a fan of Godzilla.
Yeah, he's a pretty cool guy.
I'm just gonna leave it hanging. By the
I
way,
still don't know.
gyrating, undulating dudes get you excited. But anyway,
I guess.
you're a pretty big Godzilla fan. I think most cinema geeks are, to some extent, accepting of the big lizard. But let's face facts here, folks. Lots of F's in that one. Godzilla films, for a long time, were stinky piles of crap.
Huge ones.
Yes. There's only a few good Godzilla films, and we're going to be 100% serious here.
Probably count them in one hand.
So when I heard that people were like, man, this Godzilla sequel to 2014, which gave us everything that we bitched about that the 2014 version didn't have, it still didn't satisfy us. I was like, come on, guys, what's going on here? Is there something wrong? Yes, there's something wrong. It's called fans that suck and are never ever fucking satisfied. I just gotta say, we just finished watching Godzilla King of Monsters. Look, man, I don't understand a lot of the complaints. I understand some of them, but I don't understand all of them. I don't know about you. But where I stand is, like, are the people blind? I'm blind. And I saw everything perfectly. People were like, man, I can't see anything in this movie.
Yeah, it's too dark. Why are they always fighting in the rain?
Fuck? I could see everything perfectly, and the version we saw was
pretty caca.
Quality of a potato.
It was probably slightly below SD quality.
Yeah, it was a horrible version, and nothing barred me from enjoying it, visually speaking, and or seeing what was going on.
Yeah.
So I don't get that complaint, one. Two, they were talking about these human characters stink.
Story makes no sense.
Hold on, guys. First of all, one, have you seen Godzilla movies?
Yeah.
Because if you have, then you have like zero to complain about. Because Godzilla movies historically have shitty characters.
Remember that kid?
Yeah, oh, God.
From the Manila era?
I know some people complained about Millie Bobby Brown's character in this, and I know one of them wasn't Drake because he has a weird obviously sexual obsession with her.
It's gotta stop.
And nobody says anything about it.
Yeah.
How come it's okay for Drake to be a fucking pedo? What the fuck is that, man? That's weird.
Because he was in Degrassi?
I guess. It's not a good reason at all, ever, for anything.
Reason.
I'm just saying that. What the fuck, Drake? It's weird. Stop obviously, slavishly wanting to lick Millie Bobby Brown's every nook and cranny.
Beal.
It's weird, dude.
Yeah, it's not great.
Anyway, that aside, some people obviously bitch about that, and I'm like, have you seen Godzilla movies? The kids always suck.
Especially the kids, yeah.
The kids are the worst aspect of any Godzilla ever made, especially in Japan.
Period.
Which are most of them, by the way. Yeah. But the point is, yes, very few times, if any, I'm sure there has to be at least one, but I cannot think of one time when a kid in a Godzilla movie was acceptable.
Yeah,
before.
They pretty much always deserve to get uppercut into the stratosphere.
Yes. The only kid in a kaiju movie that I can think of right now off the top of my head are the ones in the Gamera, not the original Gamera movies, the ones from the 90s.
The one where he spins? No,
those terrible fucking movies and kids. Worst kids ever in those. But that's it. I can't think of a Godzilla movie with a good kid in it. It sucked. Anyway. So for all those complaints, I was like, what movies are... I can't imagine an actual Godzilla fan being mad at this movie. I can't. If there is an actual Godzilla fan out there that's mad at this movie, I'll be shocked.
Yeah.
I can't imagine a casual fan being mad at this movie because they're idiots, maybe. But like, because maybe they don't have an understanding of other Godzilla movies, which, again, mostly suck. So, that's coming from a guy that likes Godzilla. And you like Godzilla, and you can admit that. Let's just admit that for a while. So get that out of the way, and the bulk of the problems people had with this movie are gone for me. So I don't understand that. But we'll talk about the movie as a whole now, review style. Now that those big leering issues that apparently people had... What were some other big leering issues people had with this?
I just remember people thinking it was confusing. There's too many characters. They couldn't see shit, like you said. They're always fighting in the rain. Even though they explain that.
Yeah. Anyway, we'll hit on them, I'm sure, if they come up for us. But let's talk about this movie in detail. Godzilla King of Monsters, of course, a follow-up to the 2014 Godzilla, which received a pretty warm response in the theater. Although later people were like,
Yeah.
"This fucking movie sucks." It's like a 300 syndrome. Everybody loved it at first, but then all of a sudden they're like, "Oh, there's not enough Godzilla in this."
Yeah.
We were big fans of that movie.
I saw the first one theatrically, and people were jizzing their pants.
Yeah, I love that movie. It's fucking awesome. For all the bitching and moaning about there's not enough Godzilla, they played it in such a good and efficient way so that you anticipated his arrival every single time. And for those people that were like, that was a fucking, ruined orgasm. I don't get that, man, because it just built my anticipation more and more and more. And when it finally delivered, that was orgasmic.
Yeah.
I was like, damn, this is great. You know what I'm saying? And again, for all the bitching of those characters that they made, Bryan Cranston's dead. And look, he's a great guy. He's a great actor. He was Hal for crap's sake in Malcolm in the Middle. He's fantastic. But look, he died, man. That's it. Get over it. They made that thing like that was the end of the world. Yeah. Right? Oh, he's dead. Look, man, he died. He got a better send off than Sally Hawkins did in fucking King of Monsters.
That's a good point.
I'll start with a con here. Sally Hawkins was wasted in this fucking movie. I mean, she was wasted in the first one, kind of, but here, like, what the fuck? She just gets eaten. Surprising, I guess, but that was kind of a waste. I mean, I don't know. Maybe she wanted to leave. Whatever the reason, that's a sad waste of talent. But so it is. Give me something, man. Positive or negative doesn't matter to me.
I like my boy Cube's son.
Yeah, O'Shea's in this, so that's a plus. Also like how O'Shea Jackson Jr. by the way. Ice Cube's son, for anybody that doesn't know what the fuck we're talking about. You're an Ice Cube fan, and I'm an Ice Cube fan, so that's a fucking pro, big time.
It really is. It's
Also,
the closest where we're gonna get to Ice Cube versus Godzilla.
Yeah, really. Although he might just jump into this mess, but I do like that there's a point in the movie where they show I guess his military photograph, and he's like,
oh yeah, what the hell? Was this?
Super angry in it. Okay, that's cool. But anyway, definitely a plus. Look, I'm just gonna point out here that I really like the effects in this movie.
Yeah.
And again, I saw this in potato quality, but there's like a moving map painting aesthetic to them that's really cool.
I think the fact that there's a lot of dust and rain and all these environmental effects that they throw in there kind of adds to that. It does make it look kind of like paintings at times.
Yeah. Oh, I just thought of another big one. People said that it cut away too much from the monster action, which was a similar complaint for the first one. And to the humans. Look, I like that in the first one. I like that it gave this thing perspective, and it's the same effect here. I will say that the first one did it better, which is a controversial opinion, I'm sure.
No, I think it did, yeah.
But it did. It really did. And, and I think it's for that reason. It really gives you a sense of scope and awe in the first one. Here, it's just like we understood. It's like a visual reminder constantly of where we're at versus these things. In the first one, it was about awe and wonder, which I don't think really this one captured as well. But maybe that wasn't so much the intent, given what the story's going for. So let's talk about the story. Again, that was a big point, I guess, of contention for some. I don't see how it's confusing.
Makes no sense. It's confusing, supposedly. It's lame.
The human story, again, this is probably one of the better. I'm just going to go ahead and say it right now. Probably the best human Godzilla story they've had, in any Godzilla movie that I can think of. Again, off the top of my head, there's a lot of Godzilla movies, folks. And again, most of them revolve around a stupid kid or some losers that suck.
Yeah.
That I can think of right now. I might be wrong, but this is probably the most interesting. It's definitely the most interesting to me.
I think
in my likes.
I think Shin would be the one.
Yeah, but there's no definitive one. Big story arc in Shin Godzilla.
The people.
Yeah, and then they have that kind of forced, I guess, pseudo romance angle in that one, which doesn't fit in that one. But it's more about Shin Godzilla is more about a mass response to something rather than an individual response.
We're talking individual characters.
Yeah, as far as character arcs go, this is probably the best one we've gotten in the Godzilla movie. So, and somebody might say, well, that's not an excuse for a story to be weak or anything. Again, how do you excuse all the other Godzilla movies then? You know what I'm saying? Those were fucking weak. comparatively. I think this is the strongest story arc, and I think what makes it strong is it's allegorical, just like the Godzilla and all the other Titans thing is allegorical in the story. You know, the Godzilla and the other Titans are treated here in terms of the mythos of this Godzilla verse or monster verse or whatever the fuck it's being called, as literal ancient gods that used to reign over the earth, as nature's response to balancing everything. Yeah. And that's at the core of the human story as well, as Vera Farmiga, our main female lead, turns out to be in league with villainous eco-terrorists that are intent on using a technology she and her husband developed to control the Titans and bring the Earth back to root, as it were, to bring balance to all things.
It's really, to anyone who finds that part ridiculous, I mean, there was aliens controlling monsters in the Godzilla movie. So
this is the most grounded and realistic approach you could get in a Godzilla movie, which is about huge fucking monsters fighting each other.
Yeah.
I mean, come on. Yeah, and the old plots, those were fucking even 10,000 times more ridiculous. But here they approach it with a serious tone, and I'm a big fan of the idea. There's a pseudo-Lovecraftian tone to this. The idea that these are ancient beings that reigned long before humankind came into the scene, and once they did, they became the stuff of legends, and now they have awoken again because, you know, we've driven the earth to shit. So there's kind of like an eco message here, but it doesn't swamp the whole movie into, you know, that territory of where it's preachy. No, on the contrary, again, that whole idea of these things being like gods really like overwhelms and gives you that sense. That's where the sense of awe comes from, that these things are bigger than we can perceive. Then it ties into the storyline with the humans. You know, the main character, Vera Farmiga, is estranged from her husband because of the death of one of their children, which was caused by Godzilla. And the parallel there is kind of like when a couple loses a child, they become usually estranged, and one of them, in this case, becomes angry at Godzilla, literally. And then the other one becomes dependent on Godzilla. And that's the parallel there. And it goes hand in hand with this whole idea of these things being gods. I don't see how that's a bad thing. That they actually put substance and meaning behind these parallels. It ties into the whole movie and the themes behind it. I don't get how people were confused by that. I don't get how that's shitty compared to the garbage kid beating up.
Damn.
Those old Godzilla plots sucked.
They hurt.
Dude, old Godzilla. Old Godzilla plots equals assholes.
Hurt to watch sometimes.
So, I don't know about you, man, but I loved all that stuff. I thought it was really good.
I don't understand what people thought was so confusing.
Yeah.
It all made sense. And I know one of the things that people didn't complain about and then actually liked this more, at least from what I heard, was that it does show more monster action.
Mm-hmm.
But I think it kind of paced itself similarly to the first movie.
Yeah.
I think just because at the end there's this massive battle, you know, that is.
And some of the creatures are more iconic, obviously.
Yeah, I think that too. Like I know there was some disappointment over the Mutos in the first one. Maybe it just tricked people into thinking that there's like non-stop action, but I think it's pretty much structured the same as the first movie, and even with, I would say, probably the same amount of action scenes, like. Well, maybe a little bit more. They do show a little bit more, but it's not like this non-stop action nonsense thing.
I'll say it this way: there's definitely more spectacle than action going on.
Yeah.
Visually, this is a thing to nosh on. There's a lot of cool shit to look at. But again, I think the more subdued approach of the 2014 one did that better because it was more subdued. I'm not saying that this one's not cool because of that. It's fucking cool. That's what we want to see.
Yeah.
But I like that we have a movie before it that built up to that. They gave us a reason to give a flying fuck about this big monster clash happening. Yeah. And yeah, like you said, in the end, the pace is kind of the same, and there's just more of a visual aspect to it.
Yeah, I think the main fight in the first one might be a little bit better. Between the Mutos and Godzilla, just because it builds up so much to that point, and then it's cool and it's prolonged, and it, you know, at the end, you just have basically in this one, you just have Godzilla kicking the shit out of Ghidorah instantly.
Yeah.
In the original, there's a little bit more of a, or in the first one, there's a little bit more of a fight there. So I think the final fight is actually better in the first movie. But this one's just, it just goes out full on with the cool look, the coolness, the cool factor.
And for seasoned Godzilla fans of any era, God forbid the show era for the most part, bullshit. But there's a lot of fan service in this. And there's also a lot of stuff that to the casual fan, they don't bother to explain.
Yeah.
Which, don't get me wrong, if you're a casual fan, haven't seen other Godzilla movies, which is probably for the better, you're not going to miss anything. The visual communication is pretty clear of what's going on. But there's a lot of fan service in this that fans that have been with Godzilla for a long time will appreciate being there. So that was pretty cool that they didn't shy away from that. Little things like that really please me. And then, of course, acknowledging that other events have happened throughout the passing of the 5 years, and then kind of building up that background of world building.
Yeah.
Pretty cool, man. I like that. I like that they're giving you more substance as they go along with the story, because, as we know, there's going to be another one. It's already shot, although I'm sure they're reshooting it now because this one didn't get the response that they wanted. So God knows where that's going to end up. But pretty sure everything's going to be in the daylight now, since everybody was like, oh, fucking day. I love the fact that look, some people called it a cop-out that Ghidorah brings storms with him, but I thought the visual symbolism was obvious. He brings darkness with him. There's a lot of symbolism in this movie. From Ghidorah standing proudly as the new alpha fucking predator in front of a fucking huge cross, to throughout the image they show of the legends of his existence, with straight up the red dragon, to the idea that he fell from the stars. The symbolism is so fucking in your face that I can't believe people didn't fucking get it.
No.
I was like, how do you not get that? And how do you not, in turn, not get the human story and why it's relative to what's going on with the bigger thing? So I will commend this movie for doing that a lot better in terms of tying its human story, at least allegorically speaking, metaphorically speaking, to what's going on with the monsters. That it did far better than the original, which was more of like a disaster movie.
Yeah, it's just a big ass monster.
Yeah, so that's pretty cool. I really like that.
I don't know if it's just people have problems with the idea of the God thing. We saw the same thing with Batman vs Superman.
Yeah, with Zack Snyder's contributions.
People just refuse to see.
I don't know
what they're
I don't
trying
know.
to do.
Look, as we progress in history, people are less inclined to be religious. So I don't know if it's just ignorance because people just aren't aware of that anymore to some degree, or if it's like a staunch refusal to want to accept that. That's like 90% of our stories are based on those simple structures that we find in old religious myths, whether they're myths to you or not. I mean, the 90% of our stories come from those basic ideas and those big archetypes, of a savior and a fucking destroyer and all that. I mean, this is old school shit. This is old school storytelling, only with fucking monsters. So I don't know what it is, man. It could be either or. But feigning confusion about this, or actually being confused about this, confuses me. Wow.
Yeah.
How do you not grasp that? But whatever. Tell me something else, man.
I like that you get to see other Titans in this. There's this cool, like, elephant guy. He's pretty rad.
Yeah, kind of like a weird mammoth meets gorilla guy.
Yeah.
Yeah. Pretty cool.
One of them they call Leviathan, which is kind of cool.
I do wish there was more screen time for those other
me
Titans,
too.
Because, honestly, it'd be nice to have, non-Toho kaiju.
Yeah. But people
cool.
cried about that in the first movie, so you can't do that.
Yeah, I mean, we got to set ourselves apart from the Toho stuff. That would be a good way. Hello. So, yeah, and visually they were pretty awesome. And again, that they all had kind of like a basic concept behind them, like in terms of their location, like Angkor Wat. You know, all these places with history, religious history that would indicate that these creatures might be tied into something. Like during the movie, I mentioned, I wonder if Rodan was in Mexico because, you know, maybe he was what the ancient Aztecs and Mayans and stuff thought was Quetzalcoatl. You know, little things like that that make you chew on possible ideas that they may have had for locations. Or just plain old, they're fucking cool locations, you know. So that was neat. A lot of people, here's another one. A lot of people bitched about them not fighting in cities, but like vast wastelands. Well, first of all, it's tied to the storyline. And second of all, I know some people was like, it's just a cost-cutting measure. I mean, you still had huge fucking effects.
Yeah.
They still had to make massive Arctic landscapes and all the, you know, like, so.
And it's not like you don't get it. You get that at the end.
Yeah, and that's where I was headed. It feels like they built up to this battle in a fucking city.
Yeah.
You got these battles here and there all over the place, but it ends with what we know and love of Godzilla best.
Yeah.
Duking that out in a city and destroying Boston, which was awesome.
Yeah.
You know, because Boston.
Completely destroyed, too.
Yeah.
Destruction
no hope for Boston, so
turned out
that's
to
good.
like 10 million.
I got a complaint. This is nitpicky.
Roger Ebert?
There's some stuff in this movie that's like, how do we get here again? Like when Monster Zero, aka Ghidorah,
AKA King
they
Ghidorah.
refer to him as Monster Zero, which is the code name that Monarch had for him. Monarch being the people that are controlling and monitoring these creatures, these titans. And then a few scenes later, once it's on the loose, it's like, oh, he's Ghidorah now. Now that's explained because they actually say in legends he's called Ghidorah. But once he kicks ass, somebody somewhere else completely unrelated to the people that eventually refer to him says the villain, one of the villains, says "Hail to the King." All right, I can live with that. But then our main protagonists, which have had almost zero contact with that villain, are like, "This is King Ghidorah now." How do we get from Monster Zero to Ghidorah to fucking King Ghidorah in the span of a few scenes?
The fact that he freaking kicked Rodan's asshole thoroughly made people go, "Oh yeah, he's the king."
I guess, man. And they even have like a little computer graphic for him and shit. Like, you have the King Ghidorah graphic on lock.
The same guy that did the Ice Cube Sun graphic.
Yeah, yes, man. Also, there's this character that I wouldn't say he was annoying. He felt like he was miscast.
Yeah.
It's a guy that looks like Michael Douglas had a baby with Roger Ebert with a dash of what's his face? Martin Scorsese.
He was like staring at them while they humped.
Yeah, he's like a IT guy, I guess. At Monarch. And he's with them the whole time. He has white hair. He's an older guy with Scorsese glasses. And he's like a wisecracking, cocky guy. Now, this type of character is common in an action movie. It's just, it was weird and kind of, at times, a little annoying.
I think for like the first half, I hated him.
Yeah.
And then I was kind of like, oh, he's supposed to be this kind of character. He's not supposed to be the hateable character.
Yeah.
That's weird. And then I kind of warmed up to him. Never loved him.
But
I didn't hate him.
I said that he does have a line that
we
jokingly always say during Godzilla movies.
Yeah.
Where somebody's like, "Oh my God, Zilla," and he actually fucking said it. I was like, "What the?"
You got the look that he should have gone too. They were just like, serious?
Yeah. That was a weird character.
Yeah.
I feel like if he would have been younger, it would have been more believable that he would act that way. But then again, I've met old assholes.
Yeah.
I don't know what to make of his character. I guess maybe because he goes against the norm in Hollywood movies.
Yeah, who the hell would cast this guy?
It's such a weird casting choice. I can't, and again, like you, I can't say I hated him. I just thought he was weird.
Yeah.
So he's a guy, right?
Yeah.
But whatever, he didn't bother me too much. Yeah, man. I can't think of another negative. I'm trying to. You got anything or any other thought you want to put out there?
I like how when Godzilla goes to his crib, his underwater crib, um, there's like these there's like these guard statues with his head on them. Super cute.
Oh yeah, that was a cool concept. They throw out all these fringe science in there, like the Hollow Earth theory,
Yeah.
and basically,
Which, by the way, all this stuff that it's not coming out of nowhere. They kind of established it in the first one. Too.
yeah. There's been hints of all this stuff going on
Yeah.
for a while. So
It's not like it's not like they just brought it in out of nowhere.
Anybody said that they pulled that out of their ass. I mean, it's been laid down. The groundwork has been laid down. But also, I like they kind of implied that, like some sort of Atlantean or pseudo-Atlantean society worshipped him as a god. That was cool. And then, yeah, of course, it's just an excuse to have Godzilla head statues.
Dude, I want one of those.
Pretty cool.
With little, like, spears, I guess they were?
Yeah. Lots of visual clues and imagery to chew on as far as what their ideas are. And I don't know how they're going to pull through on those ideas, or if they're at all, given the sort of like, I wouldn't say cold response. Let's say lukewarm, but really less than lukewarm response this movie got.
I think if it goes anything with how they treated it after it came out, I think they've learned to not listen to critics too much. Because I literally, like a week or two after this came out, there was like, the ad was, audiences agree, this is pretty rad. Go watch it and shit. So hopefully it's that kind of thing. Like people liked it.
Yeah. Well, even if they did, like I know box office wise, it didn't impress. So that's a thing. I don't know.
Good overseas, apparently.
I don't know how that's gonna affect the movie. Is what I'm getting at. You know what I'm saying? Doing good overseas means placating a Chinese audience at this point, and we know China doesn't really give a shit about quality. Stuff that I buy from China falls apart immediately.
Like I couldn't even mention one.
Anything. But no. In other words, what I'm saying is, if they're gonna just placate China, they're not gonna give a shit about the quality of the story and all that stuff. So, sadly, that's a thing. Take into consideration something like Pacific Rim, where the first one got a lukewarm response in the U.S., but it got a great response in China, so they basically just made a movie for China. And it wasn't great. People agree, even Del Toro going, yeah, I made a good version of this, but it didn't get made. So it's scary to think about that, but it does help that the movie, the follow-up to this, King Kong vs. Godzilla, it was pretty much made already. But they might just go and change shit.
There was also talks about them having more of a long-term strategy with the movies other than just having hits and hits and hits, supposedly.
Well, let's hope so. I could see Gamera easily coming into this universe, given that he is basically a god protector being. That would be cool.
Once Toho's like, yo, you can't use Godzilla anymore. All right, we got Gamera. And he's like,
shitty turtle going for you. So yeah, man, there's a lot to consider in terms of the future of this franchise, if there is going to be a prolonged one at all.
I think we can all agree that Kong's going to get his shit pushed in, though.
I got a good question. Where the fuck was Kong during all this? We know he got unleashed from Skull Island. Where was he at? Where was Homeboy at? Who was he loyal to? If Ghidorah was, the cock of the walk.
He's doing his own thing. He's like David S. Pumpkins that way.
David has Conkins.
Yeah.
Woo! Anyway.
I was like, here right there. I like how I agreed with it, too. Clearly, I don't listen to you half the time.
So, give me something else, man. If you got anything.
I don't know, man. I like it. I have no complaints. I can't think of anything to complain about other than that guy.
I really like the score in this.
Yeah, it's cool.
Really fucking badass. The audio on the copy we had sucked donkey nuts.
It wasn't great.
But the score stood out even then. It was pretty fucking awesome.
Yeah, the times that they hit the classic themes were pretty rad.
Yeah, and they just found a way to just revitalize those old themes. Because I never... Look, another controversial... I always hated the old Godzilla theme. Only time I liked it was when it was used in the original. And even then, it wasn't that great to me. It was just iconic. When they used it in the follow-ups, I was like, oh, dude, come on, think of another theme. And then they thought of one, and it sucked in that fucking hetero movie. But anyway,
Oh,
oh man, that song though. But hearing it done just with such pomp and circumstance, there was like a new life breathed into it.
Yeah.
It was awesome, and they all got their themes restructured and remade to be fucking awesome. And there was just new stuff in here also it just really, really communicated that sense of big bombastic awe. It was pretty awesome. But they just found new ways to amaze in this
yeah.
versus the way that the 2014 did. So
I think it's pretty funny that Rodan's like a little bitch in this.
yeah, Rodan got fucking owned, man.
But to be fair, at least he didn't just fall into a volcano and die his own movie style.
I do like that they pointed out how silly some of the relationships are when we really think about them.
Yeah.
I.e. Mothra and Godzilla.
Just hanging out.
There's a throwaway line about them being an item.
No.
I mean, we never really thought about it, or if we did, weird, in the original Godzilla movies. But yeah, what is this? Why does one monster decide to help the other? Well, here they gave you a reason and then still made fun of it,
Yeah.
which was pretty awesome.
Also like how there's one dopey head on Ghidorah.
Yep.
He was cute for some reason. And then he gets shit on. And then he's normal after that.
I do like that the villains here are basically one, the guy that you thought was going to be the head villain, Charles Dance, your kind of de facto bad guy post Christopher Lee. If you want an old British asshole, you can't use Christopher Lee anymore because he's worms right now. So you go to Charles Dance.
Mm.
That's the go-to guy. So he kind of is like a background bad guy though.
Yeah.
They really found a refreshing way to give you a bad guy that you could kind of, at first you're empathetic to what you think she is, but then things change.
Yeah.
And they give you a reason to hate her. It's Vera Farmiga, in case you haven't figured out.
It's the same thing with the male character, where he's kind of annoying at first with his hate for Godzilla.
Yeah.
And then he kind of turns.
Yeah, they find a way to give these redeem the characters, especially with her, because hers is obviously the most, outright villainous stroke. We understand why the guy would hate Godzilla, even though we love Godzilla, and be like, dude, come on, get the love on, 69 Godzilla.
Super cute.
But with her, there's like this, almost backhanded approach to her turn. Like, what the fuck? And it feels almost like a betrayal. Some people might find it silly, I'm sure. But it makes sense with what's going on in terms of the themes of the movie and how they parallel to what's going on with monsters. So I kind of like that, man. I like that there was a redeeming ending to her character. Because it was just a new approach or a different approach, I should say, to a bad guy versus your standard, Bond villain, which is kind of what it felt like at first when I thought the Charles Dance thing was happening. Excuse me. And for those that might feel that Charles Dance was wasted, apparently, post-credit sequence reveals he might be the key to bringing old King Ghidorah back. So that was cool. A relevant post-credit sequence, unlike that Black Panther post-credit sequence, where we're like, cool.
And even the credit scene's pretty cool because it kind of shows you what's been going on.
Yeah.
After the events.
Yeah, it gives you an idea.
Gives some name to the Titans.
So, all in all, a pretty enjoyable experiences. Is this a perfect movie? Of course not. But if I can't even think, and I'm sure given some time I could, but any complaints would just be me being nitpicky of little things that are small details that, don't quite gel.
We could play the whole movie here and stop every 2 seconds to make shitty jokes, but we're not nostalgia critic.
Yeah.
I just want to throw a dig in there at him because he sucks.
He sucks balls. Fushi. And it's not because of the controversy. He always sucked balls. But anyway. But yeah, man. Complaints are minimal for me. Given that this is a Godzilla movie, all the more,
Yeah.
A lot of them are fucking shitty, guys.
Citizen Kane?
Yeah, come on, man. Anyway.
That being said, the part where Citizen Kane Titan comes in, that was pretty rad.
He's just a big sled.
God.
Spoiler, it's a sled, guys, if you haven't seen that 1,000-year-old movie.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Up to date with the references.
Yeah, man, I have to say I had a fun time with this. I don't feel that this is a better movie than the 2014
I don't
movie.
think so.
But it is a fun movie, and I do really enjoy this whole, again, pseudo-Lovecraftian God aspect.
Yeah.
That's actually pretty cool. It's a theme that I enjoy a lot in a lot of movies.
I think the cool factor is higher in this one, but the better movie, I think, is still...
Yeah, this is more of a visual feast movie, but at least it has substance to it. I do feel the characters here are better than the 2014 one. It's just 2014 had that feeling of awe and wonder, and like it felt like literally you were in the mix of this massive event happening. I do feel that there are some big leaps taken here. Obviously, it leaps forward 5 years, so those big leaps were necessary. But it would have been nice to, feel it out a little more. There could have been a movie in between 2014 and this one to give certain things a little bit more substance.
Bringing the smog monster, really drill in the environmental message.
I would kill anyone that brought the smog monster back. And the fish people.
Yeah.
Come on, man. Anyway.
Extended fish people scene.
So, yeah, man, overall, there's been 3 Monsterverse, that's what it's called, right? Monsterverse? Whatever the fuck it's called, movies. This would be my 3rd favorite. But I liked all of them. So, there's that to consider. So, yeah, I got to give this movie a solid 8 at this precise moment. Tell me your final thoughts and score.
I'll give it an 8.5. I think it's just one of those things that's cool. It's like what you think a Godzilla movie is when you're a kid. Before you actually see one and you're like, woo, this stinks! Most of the time.
Yeah.
This is basically what you think a Godzilla movie should be.
Yeah.
And they deliver on all that. Rodan's a little bitch like he should be. And yet he still looks pretty rad. So there you go.
Radan, they call him.
Mothra's cute.
Yeah,
There's a lot of cuteness going on in this movie. Like, all the monsters were cute, in my opinion.
Yeah. That's it.
Yeah.
No, look, I'm just going to throw out something right here real quick. Because I was trying to find something that I could legitimately call a con. And I guess if I had to, it would be, and I'm putting myself in the shoes of a casual viewer, it would be certain elements being left to interpretation. And by that I mean like Mothra. A lot of what Mothra is, if you're a fan of the old movies, you get that immediately, what's going on. If you're not a fan of the old movies or aware,
it's kind of like this butterfly thing.
Yeah, it might come off as a little confusing as to why Mothra is this important and what's happening and the sacrifice she does at the end and how that transference of energy happens. That stuff is left, it's pretty clear,
yeah,
but it's still left to a bunch of viewers. This is like high concept in terms of, kind of like the weird bonkers silliness of it. Material. So to a casual viewer, it might be like,
huh?
What?
Yeah.
Or worse, I get it, but that's kind of silly. Well, yeah, it is silly. It's big monsters fighting each other. So putting myself in the shoes of a casual viewer, that stuff might be kind of a negative. You know what I'm saying? But I'm not a casual viewer. I like Godzilla, even the sucky shit versions that there was 10 million of.
Cookie Monster.
Especially during the Showa era. Fushila. Man, there's tons of shitty Godzilla movies. So I got it. I appreciated it. Whatever. So let us know what you think about this movie, man. Especially if you're a Godzilla fan. Where's it at? What do you think? Let us know. Hit like, share, subscribe, and those notification buttons because we're out.